Hi, it's Bethany, and this is Disability Talk, where we offer you delicious disability morsels so you don't have to ask nosy questions of disabled people like us. Today, we have the illustrious leader of our movement, star of Crip Camp, and my favorite scene about crabs, the woman who pushed through the Rehab Act and a big part of the ADA, the fabulous Judy Heumman. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Bethany, so much. Where are your glasses? I'm missing your glasses.
Well, thank you. I don't actually need glasses up close,
Oh,
so I can see. So
okay.
that's a pandemic thing. I've been losing my glasses because I don't wear them, and I'm a girl with many, many glasses. So before we get to our questions, I'd love for you to just offer your pronouns and then an audio description of you and your background briefly, please.
So she, her, and I am in our apartment, and we have 4 people who live here, myself and my husband, and 2 people who assist me in the mornings and evenings. And so we have 3 bedrooms, but they're all occupied. So all of the work that I do is here in the foyer. Open the door, and here's our workspace. And behind me is our dining room with a very nice colored Mexican tablecloth. And we're surrounded by different types of memorabilia from my family. And I am wearing purple and teal glasses. I have brown hair, which is parted and kind of a little under my ears. I'm wearing earrings that are silver dangles with little feathers and a stone, like a maroon stone. And I have on an orange blouse, which is a little low cut. I wore it in order to be on the program with Bethany and to try to compete with her. And I sit in a motorized wheelchair, has black arms, and I'm turning right now. And you can see purple in the back of my seat. I wanted there to be purple in the front of my seat, but it came not appropriately designed, and I didn't have time to send it back. So that's who I am.
Great. I loved your description, especially the top. It's making my eyes do things I'm not wanting to do because I respect you so much. I just want to offer my pronouns and then give a audio description as well.
Just so you know, in the background, as I explained, this is foyer, our foyer, so my husband is coming through.
Oh, hi.
That's the face of forehead.
How are you?
How are you?
We get a guest. Very nice.
I'm gonna get his coffee.
Yeah, it is coffee hour. So I am I use she, her pronouns, and I am a white little femme, so I'm 3'8", wheelchair using. I have shoulder length brown hair, silver dangly earrings, some light makeup, trying to be professional and fabulous for Judith, and little dangly delicate silver earrings and a very small vulva instead of my very large one to be professional for Judy. And I have on a zebra dress. Behind me are 2 shelves.
Black and white, striped like a zebra. Yeah.
Zebra, black and white. Indeed. Thank you for the correction. Behind me, I have 2 shelves. The top shelf has an amethyst on it and a quote by Martin Luther King Jr., "A riot is the language of the unheard." And below that, I have a second shelf where I always put something that relates to a love that we share, the person I'm interviewing. And I actually share a love, I believe, for Judy. I hope you love yourself deeply. And so I have your book, Being Heumann, an unrepentant memoir of a disability rights activist. And that's a 2020 book from Beacon Press. Please check it out. It's an easy read, deep, and gives you all the juicy details you wanted from Crip Camp and more. Also behind me, I have a condom bag because sexual health is a huge passion of mine. And on the wall, they're just dangling necklaces because I'm a girl with many accessories. So let's get into it. The first question for you, Judy, is how does your disability or disability in general relate to your passion or purpose in life?
So, my disability is totally integral to my life and um, has become central in my life, I guess, entirely my entire life. And now I'm 72 and a half years old. And I think it very much was the result of um, growing up in a society where, when I was born in 1947 and had polio in 49, there were no laws that protected the rights of disabled people. Some of you may know that there were actually laws at that time that allowed, like ugly laws that allowed restaurants to throw you out, theaters not to accept you. And so we were not living in a harmonious time. And I just gradually got more involved, following the footpath of my parents, who were trying to address the discrimination that they were experiencing with me, like denial of the right to go to school. Didn't get to actually go to school till I was in the middle of the fourth grade.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, it over the course of my life has become much more of a passion, in part because I realized very early on that I really didn't want to just be working to improve my life, but that I was meeting so many other disabled people when I finally started to go to school who
Yeah.
were experiencing even more significant forms of discrimination because they had cerebral palsy and may have had an intellectual disability. And so their rights were being abrogated worse than mine. So really, it's been um, a passion that's grown over the years. And there's no way I can leave it on the side because I still experience discrimination. We all are experiencing discrimination, and knowing now much more publicly that um, Black and Brown disabled people and people in poverty are experiencing and have historically experienced more discrimination than many of us. So it's like, I guess, till the end, it's fighting for our rights.
We have to keep fighting. Yes. And we are in this lovely political moment where, not lovely, but it is awakening of how much we need to be thinking about Black and Brown people in our movement and centering that. That's lovely that you bring that up. I want to just add a question about, so reading your book and just what you were saying, where you were going to school before there was IDEA, before there was the Federal Rehab Act. And frankly, I thought you were very precocious and really brilliant. And I just want to know, what did it feel like for 4 years? I did 1 year of special ed and I was just mentally bored. And I just want to know, like, how did you have hope to dream in that space when you finally got to the classroom and it still wasn't mentally what you wanted it to be? How did you know to have hope? To
It's a great question. I've never thought about it that way. I guess I'm a problem solver. And so, honestly, when I went into these classes, there were a number of things that were going on. One is education was really not the primary purpose of being in these classes,
Right.
as we were not being taught like the kids in the rest of the school. I went to a school that had 4 floors, and the 3 top floors were all kids without at least visible disabilities. And we were in the basement. And it was the first time that I'd ever met other disabled people. Because in my neighborhood, I didn't know other disabled people. And
Right.
I didn't go to a clinic. We had a doctor that my parents liked for my polio, who I went to. And so when I finally got to go to school in my health conservation 21 classes, I was meeting different people, and some of them were older because I
Mm.
actually was the first disabled person from these HC21 classes to go to high school.
Yeah.
Kind of a division in our class. I think, my age group below, the parents had a different expectation. So to the best of my knowledge, well, certainly all of the people that I was friendly with in the elementary school classes, we all went on to high school. Not everybody went to college, but we all went on to high school.
That's great.
But I think, I was having fun with these other friends who had disabilities, learning about who we were, just as people. And I also was trying to teach two of the older students in our class how to read better. So, because
Right.
they had basically, in my view, at a very young age, been relegated to low expectations of
Sure.
what they would be able to do. So really, I look at my days in Brooklyn in health conservation 21 classes as the beginning of my engagement in the movement.
That's exciting. And that's a wonderful bridge into our next question is what kind of joy and pleasures do you experience from being connected to the disability worlds? And I'm asking this question because I'm writing my dissertation on Crip Camp, specifically about how pleasure is part of our movement and not just the crab scene. I really love the dancing and the hugging and how much just touch and access intimacy, as Mia Mingus calls it, as part of our movement. So I'm just curious, you talk about it being very pivotal in your life. So what joy and pleasures do you get from being with disabled folks?
I mean, it's just a very important part of my life, being with disabled people. I have, as you've written and discussed, it's not that anyone with a disability is someone that I will automatically become friends with. But I can just say that if I have to choose going through door A, where they're all disabled people, or door B, where there are very few, if any, other disabled people, without knowing any other information, I will go through door A. Because I feel like I have an affinity with a group of people who have disabilities of some sort, and that we can identify and talk about things both on a joyful level, humorous level, and serious level in a way that we don't necessarily have to explain ourselves, like if I were to go through door B. I mean, I go through door B, but when I go through door B, I have a different expectation. I'm more nervous, I'm more conscious of having my disability and trying to figure out, how I'm going to participate in discussions where people are likely to all be standing up if it's a reception, or even if people are sitting down, it's kind of trying to figure out what their reactions are, to me and to other people with disabilities. So all of that really determines whether or not I'll be more natural. And, I think going through door A, I just know that I would feel much less uncomfortable than I would through B. And therefore feel like, I could, like if door A not only has disabled people, has music and dancing, door B has mainly non-disabled people, music and dancing. For door A, I will be on the dance floor in 30 seconds or less.
Nice.
Door B, it really depends whether
So
I
you
ever
would be
go up.
dancing, maybe with the non-disabled people?
Well, it would really depend.
Okay.
If I felt in any way that I would never just go up and dance. If I felt like in any way I was going to be a spectacle of, whoa, isn't that amazing that she's doing this? I'm
Mhm.
definitely not on that floor. In room A, I definitely feel like um, going up and dancing is also for some people like a role model. You know, when those of us who feel comfortable in going up on the floor and dancing with other people or by ourselves or just, you know, doing spontaneous dancing, it can sometimes bring people up who've never experienced being in that environment, an opportunity to basically let go in a way that they also wouldn't likely in going through, you know, door B.
This is very true. And it's making me think of the Society for Disability Studies and our wonderful dances. And when we grew more of our autistic scholar component of our conference, our dance changed a little bit. So now we have like sensory friendly components, and it is just a delightful space to welcome all of your body and your mind. I love that. And so, since we have the star of Crip Camp, what is your favorite pleasure that you got out of Crip Camp, and not post Crip Camp, like back at Crip Camp, at Camp Jened? What was your pleasure and joy that you got out of that as a young Judy before
I
you?
mean, there were lots of different things. So, you know, it was dating, because, you know, back in Brooklyn, I basically didn't date. And at camp, you know, many of us had, you know, we dated, there'd be experiences. There's, um, what was her name? Leslie Gore. Leslie Gore was not in 71, but in the 60s. This two songs about Judy. And one of them was Judy's Turn to Cry. And my friend Frida and I uh, both were interested in the same guy. And
Oh,
so, yeah, that was really funny, you know, going back and forth between
sure.
this guy, John. But I would say, honestly, it was really an opportunity just to kind of be teenagers with other teenagers
Yeah.
who had disabilities, where we were, you know, really talking about everything regarding our daily lives back in the city, issues around our futures. And, you know, obviously when you were 12, 13, 14 years old, it wasn't an integral part of your discussions, but it really was um, developing as we got older, and our peers without disabilities were beginning to more seriously think about their futures. And we were really not experiencing people engaging us with discussions the same way about what did you want to do when you grow up. It
Right.
was really much more those of us with disabilities who were talking about what our interests were and what other people may be saying we could or couldn't do. I think the discussions in the 60s and 70s are likely to be very different than today.
Sure.
Certainly want to say that I know today there still is a lot of discrimination and lack of support for people wanting to necessarily pursue their dreams, but we have role models today of people who have various forms of disabilities who are working in all kinds of jobs. When I was growing up, that didn't really exist.
Right.
Um, and so I think that's another important part of the experience, that while at camp and at school, we were becoming our own role models. You know, people that were older,
Yeah.
like when I was in high school, our homerooms were all with disabled kids. So when I was a freshman and there were kids in their junior and senior year, they were the ones that I was looking to get information about the kinds of
Smart.
jobs that they were thinking about.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, learned very early on for me to really kind of milk thinking and talking and exploring, maybe in an atypical way. I've kind of always been like that, but it's, yeah. So I think it really, those were the years where I was being formed and we were forming each other.
That's great. I love that you were being role models to each other. I still think that many of us, even though we do have people in all aspects of the federal government and media, we still want more. We're still hungry for more. And that's why, you know, Crip Camp was such an explosion, because we're so hungry for this content. We want to see our community and not just that one person that we can follow. It's so important. And that's why I finally figured out what the heck my topic would be. And I thank you for that, because I have been cycling around for 2 years thinking about pleasure and disability. So now I have a topic. But let's go to our final question and close this up, Judy. Tell me so we're in this pandemic, we're in this moment wondering what the heck the future is going to be. What do we want? And we're imagining what the possibilities could be. So what do you want in a disability justice future? What do you want beyond your days even? Where do you see us going?
I think what you started talking about, which is less marginalization. And
yeah, enjoy your coffee. Cheers.
I want to see less marginalization of disabled people in society overall. And I want to see our disability community itself become more knowledgeable about who we are. So I think the example that you just gave about the SDS dance is really a very important comment, you know, because it's learning about people within our community who have different forms of disabilities and who react to things differently. And I think it's really also using our movement to look and learn more about racism and homophobia and ageism and
Yes.
ableism, because I think it's fair to say that we all have some of those issues within our lives because of where we've grown up and what our lives have been surrounded with. So the ability to have important learning opportunities, formal and informal, I think are very important. And I want to believe that the disability community really can be an example for all other movements because we are so totally cross-cutting.
It's true. We are beautiful in that way. I mean, that's why I keep pushing the idea. If you do sexuality in a disability culturally competent way, then you're doing everyone intersectionally. And I don't mean sexually, like actually engaging in activities, but doing sex ed that's inclusive of all people. If you start with disability as your just marker, if you do that properly, you're bringing all the people in. And it's so glorious. So thank you so much. I love your idea of the future, and definitely more dancing. That is definitely part of the future.
Yeah, I definitely miss dancing. Nickel is my go-to dance,
Oh yeah?
and Nickel was virtual this year,
I
so
know.
yeah, no in-person dancing. Thank
When
you
we have
so much.
thank you. When we have vaccines, we'll be dancing together in these lovely tops. So I'm gonna hold you to that.
I have to upgrade it to something else by next year.
Okay. Well, thank
Thank
you,
you guys.
Judy.
And I love what you post on a regular basis with your lovely wardrobe. Where did you get all these damn dresses?
I I have a habit of purchasing a lot from thrift stores and when I travel, and it's an art form to dress a little body. So it's taken me years of honing this craft because I'm the size of about a 6-year-old. So to try to dress like a sexy woman, that's art. It's
Yeah,
taking
definitely.
t-shirts and tank tops and turning them into dresses.
You do a great job.
Well, thank you. It's all about the adaptivity of disability that brings it to fashion for me.
I
But
also think it's the adaptivity for us as individuals
fair enough.
and being nonconformist.
That is very true.
Yeah, I
Just
think
up
that's
to
really
that.
important.
Well, thank you, Judy.
Thank you so much. Bye.